with Jesus, the road to hell is paved with good intentions that were dropped before they were carried out. Did you know the smallest action is far greater, far weightier, far nobler than the highest aspiration? Today, we want to wage a war on procrastination. So many saints and geniuses and artists were born but never emerged. So many good and great works were planned but never executed, not because there was an evil opposition, but solely because of procrastination. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, he defines for us who is a saint. A saint is not one who never sins, but he says a saint is a person who sins less and less frequently and gets up more and more quickly. In other words, a saint is a person who, just like a genius, like an artist, is one who is committed to daily training himself towards his goal of being perfect. Let us remember, God has created in every person a saint, a genius, an artist. God never has created even one mediocre person. And that is why we need to live like there's no tomorrow. If we need to become that saint, that genius, that artist that God has created us for. And that is why we need to look at the elements of procrastination that could very well be safely, securely, deeply rooted in every one of us. The first aspect of a procrastinator is there is an element of a perfectionist. You know who a perfectionist is. A perfectionist is one who's waiting for the perfect settings, the finest aspirations, the finest inspirations, the best moment, the rightest audience, and therefore a perfectionist is as silly as an astrologer who's waiting for two planets to come together. Secondly, in every procrastinator, there is the element of a sluggard. A sluggard is one for whom the pleasure of the moment is far more beautiful, far more captivating than the vision of the eternity or even of the future. A sluggard would prefer to remain in that bliss of his couch for 5 more minutes, an eternal 5 more minutes, that he never heads out into life. By the way, Jesus calls the sluggard as a wicked man. Jesus calls laziness as wickedness. Thirdly, we see in every procrastinator is a person who has no focal point, who is so distracted with 100 things that they never prioritize what they're meant to be doing. So we could have 100 things on our bucket list. We could have 30 items on our daily to-do list. And therefore, we could be so open to so many distractions that we end up being a wanderer, lost and living a futile life. Dear friends, do you have a focus? Do you have a focal point? Saint Bernard says, there is no greater misery than settling for false joys. He also explains there are 3 reasons why certain people do what they do. You could be learning for the sake of the subject, in which case your goal is just curiosity. You could be learning in order to impress others, and there your goal is mere vanity, pointless. And thirdly, if you are learning in order to serve, there your goal is love. In our every activity, there should be a focal point of a virtue. Now, we could be doing this program because we just like to do programs, we like to talk, we like to video record, and that means it amounts to mere curiosity. I could be doing this to see how popular our program is, and then it is vanity. It would be better if we did not do this. Or thirdly, I could be doing this in order to bless and strengthen someone out there who's having a difficult day. And then there is love. It is only love that counts. Do you have a focal point? And here, finally, we reach this point where we need to look at certain absolutely non negotiables when it comes to fighting the temptation of procrastination. Let us acknowledge every one of us struggle with procrastination. And here is where we need to look at certain absolute non negotiables. There are certain things that we just cannot afford to postpone. And they are one, paying our debts to God, and secondly, clearing our debts to our neighbor. Paying our debt to God means today I need to repent. I need to give up what God does not want in my life. There are very many people who will say, oh, yes, when Advent comes, when Lent comes, when Sunday comes, today is the day. The Lord is waiting for us to return. Today is a day when we need to ensure we have had our time with God. And secondly, paying our debts to our neighbor. And this means reconciliation and kindness. Ensure that today you have said your sorries, your thank yous, and your I love yous. Friends, if we live today more fully, we will accomplish Christ's purpose for our life to live life in its full measure.